Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a simple towel folding tutorial. A couple different styles, some really simple, more traditional square and rectangular folds, and then some rolled towel options as well, and some more non-traditional or maybe even spa style folds. So let's get started. First, I'm going to be doing some really simple ones. I'll start with our large bath towel here. And of course, as with most simple folds, I'm going to begin by laying it out flat and folding it in half, lengthwise. Sure that our seams match on the ends and sides so that we're not creating any lumps or bumps. And now I'm going to be doing a tri-fold. So I'm going to take this side over to here. And then the same with the other side. Now once I have a perfectly flat rectangle here, I am going to bring this side up and fold it in half. And as I do that, of course, making sure that the fold isn't too wrinkly on the inside. And there you have it, a a very simple, stackable fold for a large bath towel. Now we're going to move on to a hand towel size. Many simple options for an average sized hand towel, but I think what we're going to do today is going to be an easily stackable and easy to hang on a towel rack fold. So I prefer to start my folded hand towels, the fold on my hand towels lengthwise. Or excuse me, not folding it over lengthwise, but hot dog style instead of hamburger or taco, if you understand that terminology. And folding it over by half is perfectly fine, but I find that it tends to look a little bit neater or more neat if I do a trifold. It keeps the edges a little bit better contained. So I'm going to do a trifold here, folding the long edges over. There's 1 and 2. Very simple trifold style. And then from here, I'm just going to fold it over in half. Now for hanging the towel on a bar or a loop in the bathroom, I would take it straight in there like this and then hang it by this fold at the top. But if I'm not immediately going to be using the towel and I'm trying to minimize space on my stacking and storage, then I will do one more fold in half, like so. That way, when I am ready to use the towel, it is a very simple one unfolding, one layer of unfolding, and it's ready to hang on the towel bar. But for now, for storage purposes, I'm going to go ahead and do that extra fold. And there's our folded hand towel. Now, the simplest possible method for the folding of a washcloth, because who needs a fancy fold on their washcloths, truly? If it's something quick to grab. Sometimes it's nice to have a fancy fold, but a lot of times I just enjoy a very simple stack of folded into quarters washcloths. Just one fold over half, making sure that if you do have any tags, to be folding them internally on the first fold, that way they're completely enclosed. And then a simple second fold in half for the most simple of washcloth folds. If you wanted to get a little bit more fancy, of course, you could do your half fold on the original and then do a trifold, which would look a little bit more fancy, if that's a thing. I guess feels more fancy to me. Anyway, those are our basic folds for some towels, and now I'd like to demonstrate a couple of fancier folds. Perhaps if you are trying to make your house feel more like a spa. For both a bath towel and washcloth, we can do a spa-like roll, towel roll that I would like to demonstrate. First, for the bath towel, we are going to begin by laying it out flat. And then we are going to fold almost going to fold it in half, but not quite in half. So we're going to bring the short edge up most of the way to the opposite end, but not completely. If you have any kind of stitching towards the end of your towels and you habitually do this type of fold, spa, roll, I guess I should call it, then you'll probably be able to find a good spot on that stitching where you can actually match the opposite end to every time, and that will make this a little bit more simple. But I do not have the stitching on these towels, so of course I'm just guessing as to where will be the best spot, but of course it's just a couple inches, I would say. I shouldn't say a couple, not more than a couple, but a few inches from the end of your towel there. And you're just going to make sure that your fold is even all the way across, that your seams meet evenly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take opposite corners in towards the center of the towel. So there's one side, and it might even start to look a little messy here, but as long as you're straightening things out as best you can. Once the rolling happens, I promise it won't look quite so messy. So we've folded this side over. Now we're going to do the exact same thing with the opposite side, folding these corners close to the opposite folded end. So now I'm going to grab the center here and I'm going to lift and fold it in half that way instead of folding it over on itself, which allows the open ends of this fold to be on top and on bottom here. So I'm going to do that and make adjustments so that these ends aren't quite matching in the same way that we folded the towel over almost in half on the first fold. We're going to do the same kind of concept here where they don't quite match on the end. And then we're going to start from this end and very tightly roll our towel. And then as we're approaching the end here, we're going to tuck the end right in here. So that's nicely tightly rolled. We can do a washcloth in the exact same way, except it's a little bit more simple. So we'll start with our washcloth flat here and fold the outside corners over, so skipping the first few steps there. Then lifting to create this shape right here where it kind of mirrors each other but they don't quite match in the same spot. And then rolling the washcloth up and tucking the end. You really do have to roll these tightly or they're not going to work out quite right. And there you go. The same fold for a washcloth. Now for the final fold, this one's a bit different and I don't think I've seen this one very commonly out and about. But for a hand towel, this fold is pretty easy to do and could be compared to perhaps a folded flag. It ends up in a triangular shape, which is very nice to stack, or not stack, but set for display purposes. So to begin, we are going to do a trifold. So we are going to fold a third of the way across here with this short end over, and then across here. So we're going to have a very long and thin hand towel with this original trifold here. And then we're going to pick one end, either end, doesn't matter, to begin with. And we're going to start folding in the shape of a triangle. So I'm going to start with this end here, and I'm going to take this corner and fold it over to the opposite side so that it creates a triangular shape here. And then I'm going to fold that triangle over on itself over and over again until I hit the opposite end and then tuck it in. As you're doing this, you want to make sure that the folds are tight, because otherwise you're going to end up with kind of a big blob. So I'm going to fold that over here, and then this way, and then this way. And then when you've come to the end here and there's not quite enough remaining for a full additional fold, you're going to want to find this open spot right here and tuck this part inside. And then once you've finished, you have a nice little triangular display for a hand towel. I think this one's quite nice, but definitely won't stack very well. So if you're trying to save space in your linen closet, this probably would not be the fold for you, but there you have it. That's all the folds that I will be demonstrating today. Thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a comment about which fold is your favorite, especially if you like the simple ones. I'd love to know if I'm not the only one that enjoys the simple folds. Maybe more than the fancy spa folds. But thank you for joining me today. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.